Well, good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said well. I'm doing well. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go over to my friend Bruce Kulick's house. Oh yeah, Bruce, he used to be in Kiss. He used to play for Meatloaf. Today, we're going over to his house, and he's going to show us some of his favorite guitars, and he literally has them there. He might even play a little bit, and he's going to tell us why they're so iconic, what he played on them, and this ought to be a blast. How often do you get a guitar player who's made a history of just being in every guitar magazine? Since I was a kid, I've seen him in every guitar magazine. He's going to show us his favorite guitars. Epic. Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now.
So this is actually a replica of my Asylum guitar from that video. I played it on tour, and ESP did an amazing job. They have a line called LTD, which is a little more affordable. And I've been offering these to fans in small batches, actually, me personally selling it. And I have to show you the t-shirt I'm wearing because somebody in the Netherlands created an art graphic of the guitar finish, you know. So I offer these on my website, which is fun. I mean, I don't like to do super obvious things. Bruce Kulick, I don't need that. I think that, you know, something subtle like this.
Yeah, that's great.
Fun. So these guitars are great, and what's amazing about it, Jordan, is the fact that Paul Stanley helped with this design. He had an idea of rubbing out, you know, if this is the base paint, and then it's rubbed out and different color layers happen. So it becomes what I've called, which is not a real word, but I call it the multi-swirl. And then the idea of the hardware all being mixed colors and materials, so you have the brass, the nickel, and the black chrome, is really unique, even down to the tuners being that way, which I think is fascinating. So these guitars are quite popular, and they're very playable. These are good quality instruments. It's not an expensive guitar, but I love that. Even though the real one was sold years ago through an auction thing I did, with some of that going to charity, and wound up in Sweden. And that guy is a collector of Asylum. He has my outfits, he has the whole band stuff. But these replicas are amazing. Thankfully, he shared good photos of the guitar so they could figure out how to make this.
I love that.
Isn't that a great finish? Yeah.
Well, and I love that now you can actually, as a guitar fan, you can buy replicas of the Eddie, of your guitars, all these great guitars.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, that probably was like not the case.
Not the case, yeah. So, you know, and I certainly admire the look and the vibe. It takes you back to that era. Just like when I see a certain guitar that reminds me of Hendrix or Clapton, I'm like, ooh, I gotta have it.
Yep.
You know, so that's what it is. Good, beautiful guitar. So let's go with some of the actual Kiss year guitars. And this is that one that was played and held on the cover. It wound up in the photo shoot for Carnival of Souls. And to have a guitar actually being held by a member on a cover of one of the records is always very cool, as you can imagine. So this is a really beautiful early 80s BC Rich Eagle Supreme. Eagle is the model, and Supreme is because of the gorgeous cloud abalone inlays on the fingerboard. And it actually appears on the song Jungle. I play a couple of riffs on this guitar. But this is koa wood. I don't know if you've been to Hawaii. Koa is very popular. But it's a beautiful wood that BC Rich especially was known for using. And BC Rich is an American company that Bernie Rico, who Paul Stanley and I knew quite well, he's no longer with us now, and the company's gone through a lot of changes, and I'm going to show you another iconic BC Rich in a few minutes. But they were very much part of the 80s, and then became you know, a little more of a metal guitar company as well.
Was this a standard guitar? Could you just buy it looking like this, or?
This one I actually, even though there were guys like Dick Wagner who ordered custom versions, but Joe Perry played. Slash is known for one of their models too, even though you know, certain artists are known more for one guitar. But this was an Eagle Supreme. I found it used at Guitar Center, and I didn't realize that you know, something that I was like, ooh, I gotta have that, would become an iconic album cover guitar, which is definitely really, really big. So,
I love that you kept it in your collection too.
Yeah, actually there was a little while when I let it go, and you know, there was a period of time, Jordan, where I didn't really think the fans, like when Kiss had a huge auction in 2000 through Butterfield's, my stuff wasn't really selling. My era, just people didn't support. And through those early 2000 years, I always questioned the value of what I had. And I should have just not doubted that and realized that it would come around.
Yeah, everything always does.
Right,
If something's good at one point, it comes around again.
It comes back. So I remember letting it go, and then the guy, I always have said that the cool guitars that I've offered to fans and friends, it was always like, if you're going to sell that, you got to tell me first. And that's what the guy did. He said, I can't really swing it. Can we do something? Do you have a cheaper guitar that you can give me in cash? And that's what I did, and I got it back, thankfully.
So worth it.
Yep. I love that I have this. So I showed you the Radioactive suit, and this was the guitar that I was holding and performing with in that same video from that photo I showed you. Really interesting. So when BC Rich started to evolve as a company, they started to make bolt-on guitars, which would be more like the Eddie Van Halen kind of guitars with a Floyd Rose. They were different before that, more like the Kohler wood one that I showed you. So this actually had 3 pickups originally. It's very hard to see them, but there is some impression there where it was filled. And because of the suit, this was really clever, Jordan. I thought, why don't I put those radioactive symbols, ask them to paint them onto the guitar to coordinate with the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I invented the wheel there, but I thought it was great to have it combined. So they did this. This became the Radioactive guitar. And now I offer the mini guitar, which sold out very quickly. I even, cleverly made a mug and a mask using the radioactive symbols. So the fact that this radioactive instrument is in my collection is a real honor. And there's a crazy story with it. I actually gave it to Eric Carr, the drummer that passed away in '91, because he didn't have great guitars. And then when he passed away, in his will, however he willed things that were musical in his instrument, next thing you know, it's for sale at a We Buy store in New York, which was where guitars were. I know, it was purchased, and then years later, when they were ready to move it, they knew I would want it, so it's back in my collection. So, very honored to have this guitar. And it's funny, the current people at BC Rich are completely different people from back then in the 80s, but now I have a relationship with them too, and it was great to talk about this. And I was able to use the more modern logo on the mini guitar and everything. So
now, did you play this one a lot live, or would you also have recorded anything with it? Or
this one I found was more, not as much as a performing guitar, but it's so iconic from Crazy Nights, and it's in the video. But it was on tour a bit, but I got more comfortable with some of the ESPs, which I'll have to show you now.
Okay. Take a look at that, man. That's so iconic. Just to see it right in front of me, it's amazing.
So this guitar did 2 tours with me, actually, but in 2 different kind of incarnations, in a sense. Hot in the Shade was the first one, and it was actually much whiter, but age yellows guitars with these kind of finishes. And then I wound up, for the Revenge tour, adding a tortoiseshell pickguard. And why a tortoiseshell pickguard? Because I saw Jimi Hendrix have a white Strat from his famous touring days with a tortoiseshell pickguard, so I had to be a Jimi Hendrix copy. It's a killer guitar, great sound. These little marks were from studio things where, we need to bring down the tone or something, I knew what to do. So that's what, this actually had this pull pod too, which was a wah-wah effect. Which was kind of interesting. It's not activated right now. In fact, you can see the kind of, my roadie had a little fun, said, "Eat me." Really, really a big part of quite a few of my Kiss tours. Like a Super Strat, very much like an Eddie Van Halen guitar, except mine doesn't have the red and black stripes and all that kind of stuff.
Why did so many people go ESP instead of Fender back then?
Fender was going through a lot of changes in the 80s. In fact, I was telling Lisa about this recently. In around 86, most of the Fenders offered in America had to be made in Japan because the U.S. company, they just went through changes and they weren't well made. But the Japanese knew how to make stuff, and they did better Fenders than Fender. Obviously, Fender came back strong. They got it together. They're super iconic. They make great stuff. But for back then, for me, to have a Super Strat like this was a joy.
Beautiful guitar.
Yep.
I love how that looks when they age.
Yeah, when the way they yellow. Right, exactly. Here we have probably my most iconic guitar in the sense that, once again, on an album cover, I'm holding it like my best friend on the Crazy Nights album. So I affectionately call it the banana guitar, although for quite a while it was also called Chiquita. And that's, this yellow finish was obviously very banana-like, right? And then at some point, as a joke, I threw the sticker on there, and then it became like, the Chiquita. Now, I'll call it the banana too, even though some people like to call these headstocks from ESP in that era a banana headstock or a hockey stick headstock, because that's what it looks like as well. So what can I say? This one I probably recorded quite a few iconic things with it, and it's a beautiful guitar that just really sings, that whole beginning of No, No, No. And that thing in Crazy Nights, this guitar, I even recorded all the way up until the last record. I have notes from Carnival of Souls using this. There's just something about some guitar wood bodies and with that neck that just, it all comes together. And it's just like, woo, and there's the sonics of it, they're just magic.
Would you call it maybe your favorite guitar?
So this would be my Desert Island of the Super Strat guitars, and then I have an old Les Paul that would be the more traditional, Desert Island guitar. Absolutely. This thing's just, and I still, I think it's, I don't know if it's tuned, but no, the lower string is tuned out or something. Anyway, really, really powerful guitar.
And that one, have you also made like the mini guitars of those as well?
Yeah, I did it was funny, it was the first of the minis, and I was so shy about how many people would buy them. I only made 100, and it sold out very quickly, and people are always asking for more. So I'll revisit that at another time. I like to do limited runs of what I've offered, like the Radioactive run, which is sold out now, 250 I did, I remember one time when we talked about this, you said, so what are you making, 5,000?
I mean, I don't know, because...
I could probably sell 1,000.
Yeah.
But it's
you don't know until you offer them.
Right. But I don't mind them being limited, is my point.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And then there's a desire for it, and then if you revisit it later on, they respond, because they always wanted it.
Have you ever seen another yellow ESP like that? Was that something common, or was that kind of a rarity?
It wasn't. What I used to do, Jordan, I literally would go up to the company, and they'd have bodies and necks, because at the time, they were offering models, but they also were still doing parts. I go like, oh, I love that yellow body. Oh, this rosewood neck looks great. And they put it together for me. The white one was the same. It was a body, it was a neck, and I said, because you could do that with the guitars. Eddie Van Halen used to do it all the time. Change the neck and the body, so this wasn't a real model. It was an M1, they called it, Metal 1, but not an actual, they weren't known for yellow banana guitars.
Yeah, it was just you customized it.
So I loved that it looked like, it reminded me of like a taxi cab kind of thing in New York.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I have to show you, I know the strap, I wore it in a few of these guitar expose things, but this animal print was on Hot in the Shade, and I carried it through. I just love this. Animal stuff is just still popular, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what a comfortable, beautiful strap, and it's one of the few that I still own. I have another one here that's pretty cool for another guitar to show you, but I love this. There you go.
And there's a black and white photo of Bruce with a banana guitar.
So through the years, for some reason, I started to put Backstage Passes on the back of the guitar. I don't know if that was out of love or insanity. What's really funny...
David Lee Roth?
Yeah, so when I saw David Lee Roth, I put that within it. This would have been Arsenio Hall, 93, when Kiss was on there. I got to see an Iron Maiden show in 87, so I put that there. A Van Halen one. That one I'm not sure what it was. got worn away. But I used to get some real blowback from Paul about that because he never liked Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I put that on there. I literally saw an interview where Paul mentioned, like, I don't know why he's got Emerson, Lake and Palmer on his guitar. So whatever. Why not? Here's a really cool custom guitar from ESP called a ESP. It looks like an Explorer. I think they just put custom on the headstock there. Now, Kiss was always known for black guitars with mirror pickguards, and I couldn't help it. I had to borrow the idea here, so I like that this pickup's chrome with the chrome pickup ring, and this one again continuing that theme. Now, this one's on the cover of Alive 3. I'm in the I believe in the eye of the KISS logo. And with my body being really angular in it and something in this guitar being angular, it's very iconic. It's just and another one, a really terrific instrument. I know I played it on that Arsenio Hall gig. And they also made me a white one that I still own, ESP, which I used in videos and on tour for Revenge. But these were incredible instruments, and I'm really, really grateful I still have this in my collection. And this is the actual strap that when there's photos, I don't have the strap lock on it, which I usually have on them, but this is the strap that I used to perform with this guitar. And what's great is right there it says, BK Explorer, or so it's really cool to know that these two things in the 90s were just a big part of my career.
Now, can I ask, do you keep these guitars just for the Kiss times, or will you take these and play them with Grand Funk ever?
It wouldn't be an appropriate guitar for Grand Funk, and in some ways I just think it's way too valuable to even do that. I certainly love showing it and sharing it, and I could use this guitar, but it's just too iconic to me to just run around with. Now, I've done sessions with a few of the other guitars I showed you, but I wouldn't want to tour with any of these.
I was just curious whether you had one of those things where it's like, no, these are sentimentally for my Kiss era. Right. I will only do shows pertaining to Kiss with those guitars or something like that, maybe.
Maybe I'd bring one out if there was that last big performance with Kiss. That would make sense, I did have these, two of them. There was a different one that, because there's others I'm not showing you today, not for any reason. These are I think are the best ones. But the Cruise, the Kiss Cruise had a museum of instruments and items, and they asked, would you mind having a few involved? And I actually, loaned them 2 guitars. It was funny to have them out on the North Atlantic, you know what I mean?
Just floating around, yeah.
It's sitting in a display with a great photo. So it was this one and this other Explorer, the other Horizon ESP of mine. So really, really just something I'm just really excited to still own. And I have to admit that I'm very happy about the fact that most of these still do really play well. They're still great instruments. There's no doubt about it.
Now, you post a video pretty often about guitars from your collection.
Yeah.
Do you want to promote how people can see that? Because you go way more into detail even on your channel.
So on my YouTube channel, which is Bruce Kulick, I do the Kiss Guitar of the Month. Okay, and what's interesting about it, and I think I've mentioned before that I've learned so much more about how to film things, how to light them better, how to tell a story better with iMovie and everything. So some of them I'm revisiting, and I call it amplified, because I'm able to tell it instead of me just being in the corner of the house. Hey, here's my Explorer from. I can actually talk about the evolution, why I got it, how it fit in with with the career and where it appeared, and then show clips of that.
I love that.
So these guitars in a month are quite popular. Although there's some other content I do that the Kiss fans go really crazy over, like when I'm showing a rare kind of bootleg video type thing, But I take a lot of pleasure in presenting these guitars and giving them the kind of story behind them that they deserve to be shared, So it's a lot of fun doing it. Lisa knows I have a lot of passion for it, and she learns. What's great having her as my kind of like first audience is that all right, she's not a guitarist, she doesn't own, what I mean? And if she's entertained, then I did my job.
Exactly.
Because I don't want it to be all just for the nerds who love guitar. I want it to be for everybody who can understand the story behind an instrument.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I always hear on my channel is, you know, I'll do videos on wrestlers and people go, I have zero interest in wrestling, but I love when you do these because you have a way of painting a picture. And that's what I was drawn to your videos by. I love how detailed you went in where they were used. You were able to find ways of matching them up, and it makes it real to people who maybe didn't get to see that tour.
No, I'm having fun with it all, even though it you know, because of my perfectionist, you know, vibe, you know, sometimes I drive myself crazy and I have dreams about it and I regret, I wish I could have done this, I don't know how to do that, you know, but it's all great sharing it. I'm really happy with that, and it's all on my YouTube channel. Yeah,
and you've shown us just 6 of your favorites today, but you have countless guitars that you'll be showing over time, so people should all go over and subscribe to your YouTube.
Well, there's one more I think you should see.
Oh, please.
I'll show you. So this is my very first guitar that I toured with. So that first time I had a professional gig going to Europe and performing with George McRae, I literally hand carried this guitar on the road with me. Those Bugs Bunny things were something I saw in Germany when I was there to back him. A vintage MXR sticker, Whirlwind. That's a cable company. So, you know, this is the instrument that I kind of really got my chops on. It's called an SG Special, and special is because the P90 pickups, which are a little different from the humbuckers, it obviously had a different kind of bridge originally, but it was modified, which this bridge actually helps, even though it should be really over here, but then there'd be 2 holes over here, so the guy put it there. I got it used back in probably 73-ish, but it's a 65. Okay, from 1965. The tuners were replaced, but it's a little more stable. And this thing was on my first recordings. I had a band which I later called KKB for Katz, Kulick, and Boise, the drummer. It was a trio. And I put out that record a couple of times. And this was the guitar that I performed with. And this is the one that I played with George McRae over in Europe. And it's just a great sounding guitar. I remember actually selling it to a friend of mine in New York, and then he realized, you know, I could really use the money. Would you buy it? I said, absolutely, and here it is in my home. But the one other craziest thing about it, and I didn't realize it till many years later, because I literally used to sleep with it practically, okay, was, you know, I was born 12/12, so I love the number 24. It's always part of my life somehow. And then when I finally had it back in my hands, you know, there's only, I think, how many serial numbers are on there? Is it 5? 4,
6 numbers, it looks like. Yeah.
But if you add those numbers up, it adds up to 24.
You can see where the belt would have rubbed all the paint off the back.
8 and 7 are 15, and then the 9 makes it 24. Yes, I played it a lot with a belt, with a big 70s belt. Okay, 70s, 80s belt, right?
Those are heavily sought after guitars now.
Yeah, these SG Specials. I have, what's ironic is that years later I found a all original one from '65, okay? So I wound up buying that, and Vintage Guitar Magazine really, they got them confused a little bit. They love the original one because, you know, it's Vintage Guitar Magazine, but this is the one that I really, you know, it's like my best friend, you know.
Do you play that probably the most?
Well, I remember when I got it back, I couldn't believe how comfortable I was. It just has the right neck. And for a thin body, you know, an SG, which just means solid guitar for Gibson. You know who used to play these is Carlos Santana. I remember early on, like I just took it out, Jordan, it's perfectly in tune. That's always great. And believe me, the temperatures wildly vary in my home, so it's just a great guitar. It knows. And I'm just so happy that it's back in my life after all those years from '73.
What a great collection you've shown us today. Unbelievable. And that's really cool to end it on the first one.
Yeah.
First main guitar.
It was Lisa's idea. I said, like, what about the guitar? And you'll see the photo coming down the stairs, you know.
And there's Bruce getting off a plane with that guitar, coming back from a gig with George McRae. And there's Bruce and George.
birthday celebration while I'm traveling. She's going through my pic collection, takes that photo, which was one of the 8x10s I was offering at the time, and she just found guitar picks, including really rare original Kiss picks, picks from Union, the band I had with John Corabi, you know, just various
Grand
Grand Funk picks, my solo records, and she made a beautiful display from it, you know. I guess this was a, you know, like a sign of things to come from her bling art and everything, that she could be creative with these colorful little pieces of plastic. I love it.
Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this great day with Bruce Kulick. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you all next time. Have a great night, and goodbye.